Hi friends, welcome back to the channel, Relocate with Kaya. I am Kaya. I provide online support via coaching and consulting with families, individuals, and employees that are looking to move abroad. And on our channel, Rich and I discuss our own personal experience of moving from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania to beautiful Johannesburg, South Africa with our lovely daughter Nina. And today we are going to be talking about something that is very taboo in America. I don't know if it is here in South Africa, but it is here in America. We're going to be talking about politics. Rich and I got into a very heated discussion this morning, and I think part of the reason it's come up is because there's been obviously a lot of discussion about the upcoming election here in South Africa and the runway that we have up to the election in America. So I'm going to let Rich take it from here.
So just to clarify, we were heatedly discussing the U.S. election.
Yes.
Neither one of us are informed enough, at least I don't think I'm informed enough, to speak on the political parties and things that are going on in the election in South Africa at the end of the month. For what I do know and understand about the process is, one, it's a holiday. So everyone has off and can vote. It's made easier for the people to vote. Now, contrast that to the States. You don't have the day off. You have to rush before work, rush after work. They're scheming in some places to close polling locations so other places will be busier. It takes you hours. So that difference here is something that I like.
Sorry.
Okay.
I was going to say, so one of the reasons is that that it's not a holiday in America is because there is an active party that wants to suppress votes. They want to prevent people from voting. So they're actually making it more difficult to vote, as opposed to the complete contrast to South Africa. It's like you get the whole day off. In America, they close polls earlier. They have consolidated
Less
polls.
Yeah. Districts or polling areas are less.
Yeah, exactly. Like you'll have one polling area for multiple neighborhoods and the lines. Like it's absolutely counterproductive, and it's intentional and it's deliberate.
Yeah, we'll starting overall. So they didn't want everyone to vote. I mean, it's representative, but they didn't want everyone to,
Yeah, they didn't want women to vote.
But recently, one party has been recognizing the demographic shifts in the country, and they're
we could be honest, the Republican Party.
Yeah. They're like, we're going to be in the minority. We're going to make it as difficult as possible for everyone else to actually just participate. We assume you're voting for the other guys.
That's right.
We're going to make your life as hard as possible. Like we said, longer lines, less locations. They've even done stuff like the voting rolls. Like if you're already registered to vote, but you maybe missed an election or changed an address, they're just cleaning the slate, wiping the names off. So when you show up, you're not registered to vote.
Exactly.
And you have no idea that you weren't. So then there's like a secondary, I forget, provisional ballot, whatever they call it, but then they count them separately or later. And there's a whole bunch of shenanigans going on about voter ID laws.
Oh, yeah.
Physically making it harder for people to physically vote. Like in some places, if there's an elderly person, like you're not allowed to drive that person to the poll. You're not allowed to give people water in line in Georgia, and just
I forgot about that.
Yeah, they're actively making it more difficult for you to even participate in the process, regardless of who you're voting for.
Yeah, like they're not going to take the gamble and, with you maybe voting for the Republican Party. No, they're going to make it extremely difficult because they're assuming, particularly if you are a person of color and if you live in a particular city, because it definitely varies depending on what state you live in. So if you live in a predominantly white state, not so many voting laws enforced.
Well, each state can do their own thing regarding a national election, which is a whole other layer of fun.
Yeah. So right off the bat, they make it more difficult to vote in America on the actual day, as opposed to South Africa giving you the day off.
Yeah.
Sorry.
But that was refreshing. It's a day off. That's great. I don't know a lot about the parties themselves, but I do know there's a dozen or 13 or some representation from all these different parties in Parliament, which is fantastic. Compare that to the States, we've got 2. We've got some more that actually try to run for president. We can get into that in a little bit, but like as far as represented in Congress, there's 2. Where here there's 13. I think. 12 or 13, whatever.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Like I think that, the more people that have their voice heard, the more people that can actively participate in the system, the better.
Yes.
And then the whole actual president piece of, it's in Parliament. I think the lower house of Parliament, they get together, usually the majority party, but like that's where the person is then elected by them.
Yeah.
Where the States is like you get the one person, you're voting for the person who represents the party. Here it's like the party.
Then the person. And then I think, and I could be wrong, and it feels like just based off of that premise is that you're not voting for a person there, or you're not voting for a personality. Like Donald Trump is a personality. Like people are voting for the man.
Personality, yeah.
Yes, a cult of a personality. But people just love him. They love him. They love him. And like, because the demographics are changing in America, the Democrats thought they kind of had a stranglehold on, the minority vote.
Sheer numbers.
Yeah, just by numbers. That's the math that they were doing. So the Republican Party was shrinking, but then comes along Donald Trump, who, like I said, is a personality. So I think that when people are literally obsessed and treat like politicians in America like rock stars. Now, full disclosure, I love me some Obama. I did. Completely different story now. But I would go and stand in lines to hear him speak. We had when he won, we had an inauguration party at our house. So I was, completely diehard Obama person. But again, that leads to, you liking the person and not necessarily paying attention to what the politics are. Yeah, exactly. So that's right there. You're voting for a party and not necessarily a person. I think it's huge because people in America, they fall in love. Like, this person doesn't woo me. Or like when, who was it? George W. Bush when he won, or like people would say, oh, I felt like I could. Oh, yes. So George Bush was not very bright, or at least W, excuse me. He wasn't super bright, but people thought that he was, relatable and that you could sit down and have a beer with him. Yeah. Like that literally was said.
But I think that also speaks to the electorate itself. Like, there's plenty of people that I would love to have a beer with. It doesn't need to be the president or my surgeon or the pilot of the airplane. Like, I don't need to be, I have a beer level
right, so relationship.
Conversation with certain folks in this world.
That's right.
And in my mind, the president of the U.S. needs to not be on.
I'd rather not.
Let's grab a beer level type.
Exactly. Exactly. So again, you're a lot of times in America, and present company included, you're voting for a person. I've gotten away from that, but so that lends itself to fandom or standing politicians, which when you think about it is insane. So I don't think I knew that.
So the party versus an individual.
Yeah,
and I'm guessing that. People might know who would be the, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, in any party, you could probably say like, oh, it's probably either going to be A, B, or C, or,
right.
But it's not that person
running.
Right.
Yeah. So that kind of led to the conversation that we had this morning, which is, if you're following, which you're probably not, but I feel like you guys are because you're very well read and informed about what's going on abroad and in particularly America. It's like the choices that we have between Donald Trump and Biden are so binary. They are, I've never, like when I say for me, and I'm only speaking for myself, the daylight between the two is so slim Like, I don't think that there is. Like, so I'm saying this for the first time out loud and voting for a third party. There is a third party choice. And I'm fully committed to voting for a third party. And Rich, he's not disclosing what he's doing, but him and I disagree on what the impact of that has. I believe that if you want to have genuine change, you kind of have to, tear it down and start anew. But that's what I truly believe needs to happen. Whereas the Rich, feels a little differently about that.
Well, not the whole tear it down part. I think we're in agreement that it needs to be changed. It needs to be torn down. But things need to change. Like, we agree there. I think
fundamentally.
Yeah, but I think the frustration is the fact that you are boxed in. There are essentially two choices. There's more than how many candidates are there? At least 5.
Yeah.
At least. Yes. Maybe there's a couple other ones.
JFK and Jill Stein.
And then,
Trump and Biden.
Yeah. But I'm sure there might be someone else floating around. But in all reality,
maybe a libertarian or somebody.
It's two parties. It's Trump and Biden, because half of these people can't even get the money required to get their names on a ballot in some states. The way it's set up, it costs so much money just to even get your hat in the ring, to even be viable. It's ridiculous. And it's set up as a duopoly. It's set up as a two-party system. It's set up to keep all of the quote-unquote noise of change out of the, national election. You may like the politics of one of these other people. They're probably not going to win. And but I'm saying you're essentially forced. There's two. And that's, I think, for my part, it's the frustration of being in that box. The what comes next thing, of course, also where we disagree, because it's, burn it down. Not everyone's going to have a free and fair shot at community rebuilding of it. My thing is someone's already going to be in there swinging hammers before people realize the building's even on fire. That's all.
So, I mean, Rich, I think that, I feel like the same thing has been done for so long. You can't work in the system. You really can't. And I used to think that you could. And I feel like the older you get, for me,
the more jaded you get.
No, I think it's interesting because you always hear in America the older people get, the more conservative.
Yeah, because
I have
quote unquote you get money and you get things and you start worrying about those teenagers, those kids that are causing trouble.
Right. But I think that was the theory. I 100% disagree. I am 48 and I have gotten swung so much further to the left. And all essentially that means is that I want everyone to have access to basic human rights. That is it.
Yeah.
That's not extreme, but America will have you think that socialist is it'll have you believing that one, that is not possible. Scarcity is a whole movement in America. That's the premise. It's there's not enough for everybody.
No.
And it's the richest country on the planet. So
everything is framed that if so-and-so gets something, it's going to be at your expense or the expense of someone else.
That's right.
And that's not the case.
Absolutely not.
But that's the way it's framed.
It's framed, ran, worked that's. So it's just I don't believe that. So when people say the older you get, the more conservative you get, I find that to be not my situation. No. I'm also more aware and in tune, and there's access to information, and I think that's really what it is.
Huge difference.
That's all of it.
I think that the conservative, when you got older, was historically true. People just conformed or whatever. They didn't
want to rock the boat.
Yeah,
that part.
Yeah,
they don't want to rock the boat.
But it goes back to the scarcity thing. And even now, there's a quiet way of making people conform. If you have certain jobs, they may not have explicitly told you if you do this, if you do that, it's going to negatively impact you. It's just unwritten.
Understood.
It's unsaid and it's understood. You can't be out here going against the grain, speaking your voice and not expect ramifications, on the professional side of things.
100%.
You might lose your livelihood your career because
right.
no, it's just, but that's
the implication.
and
well, no, what I'm saying, I think it's true.
Because some of the guys, like when the protests first started with the kids on campus, they're like, give us every one of their names, and we're going to make sure none of those guys get jobs.
Yeah, well, they can't do that. But yes, yes. Yeah, no. I'm saying that that's 100% is what it is, and it's just like you have to, and I think that's why there's so much pushback, because these kids are just like, take it away. Take it away. These other things are more important. Yeah. So I find myself not siding with, older people, the boomers. I find myself siding with the kids, and to me, it's not even really a choice. But I never understood the older you get, the more conservative you get.
It's like you're worried about losing things. You're worried
at the expense of someone else.
I'm just telling you what a lot.
Where it comes from. No.
Because if you were a quote unquote professional, if you're a doctor or lawyer, like if you spend all that time and money and whatever, then you can lose all that. Your partnership at the law firm, because some people don't care and will say stuff, but a lot of people will stay on the sidelines, and that's the way it's been for so long. So not only about the individuals at work, we were talking politics, political parties. They're all run by the money behind them. These folks, no matter what color on their lapel or what tie they're wearing, they're all essentially ran by the same folks when you get to a certain level. That's why none of this changes. That's why none of this changes. It doesn't, it almost doesn't matter who you vote in, particularly in these two parties, because nothing's going to change. Because honestly, they should all wear company logos, like a NASCAR race. So the car has everyone who sponsored it. So all their logos all over the place. Everyone in Congress should be adorned with who they took money from. And you'd see the same logo across both sides of both parties.
100%.
Because they're not operating for their constituents. They're not operating. They're keeping it just so the masses don't rise up with pitchforks and show up. It's like they keep you on the wheel. They keep you stressed out about money, inflation, losing your job, keeping up. And they just keep you going along that way, arguing over societal issues, and blaming that other person that doesn't look like you for taking something. That's
right.
They're all
That's right. Where everybody's hoarding
more
money.
And more money. So I mean, it does matter who you elect, but to an extent, it really doesn't.
You just have to vote who, and this is just what it is. It's like you just vote who you can. At this point, as whoever you can sleep at night voting for, that's who you vote for.
And that's not a ringing endorsement.
It's not.
When you say, the lesser of two evils, that's not good either.
That's not even a thing anymore. That no longer, I'm sorry.
No, but I'm just saying, that's the
those are choice. Right. 2020, I mean, I was scared to death. I was we got to get Biden in this house. I don't care he's 100 years old. I don't care that, he passed all these terrible laws in the 90s and had black people getting locked up. He's chained, just bought all the things because, and that's also what America does. And I don't know if they do it here, but it's just like they fear you into voting. Like, it's just like, if you vote for this guy, this thing's going to happen. And it's just all fear driven. It's all fear driven. And, going back to, our disagreement, it's like, I'm no longer going to be scared into voting for someone that I think is equally as awful. Like, I do have a choice, and that's what some of these third-party candidates are saying. Is like that it's intentional that they want you to believe you don't have a choice. And it's just like, and the only way that's ever going to change is if you're willing to put stuff on the line. And I think it's so bad in America right now that people are willing to put stuff on the line in order to see some sort of change. So
that's why there's so much money in it. All the super PACs and all that, they don't want the stranglehold to change. That's
well, just how they're responding to the protests. Like, apparently, during Vietnam, like, the response was the same. Like, any sort of challenge to power,
civil rights,
it is met with extreme force, and none of that is, well, the difference is now is you can see all this stuff on your phone. And I think that's also why what I think I started saying earlier is that the reason the pendulum isn't swinging the other way as far as conservative, being more conservative, it's like, no, I can see what's going on. I can see people's rights being stripped away and trampled on. And as a person that has lived that, why would I support that for anyone else? Like, when you experience, it gives you another level of empathy too, that some people may lack. So yeah. So yes, so we know the elections are coming. It'd be nice to see how that goes. And as far as the elections in the States, like Rich and I don't know if this was something that Rich thought about, but I know when we initially had planned to go back in August, like, I didn't want to be back in the States around November. I wanted no parts of it.
No, I don't want to be around November or January or any other.
That's right. That's right. Pivotal moments or times during this election. Because as you can see, January 6th was real.
According to some.
That's true.
And that's we can have a whole other discussion about media and what people believe and what's fed to them, and the state of the education system in the country. You don't want critical thinkers. You want people that are just enough to follow you, that just sort of
enough.
thing.
Not to challenge,
that could be a whole other separate discussion. This is very long, at least.
That's right. We don't want to drone on, but it was just something that it'll be interesting to see the contrast of what the election, how that day rolls out, and how what happens in America. And at the moment, I would much rather, because I don't know, be here than in the States, because I think it's going to be a very intense time. Like, just leading up to it's intense. So I can't imagine what it's going to be like being there, because people are the hills are dug in deep.
Yep.
And people say it's very polarized, but it is, but in so many different ways.
But that's it's not an accident. Those feelings and those us versus them
sides
are actively being fueled. You're turning the political parties or supporters of a political candidate into teams. It's not a sport. It's not, so there's definitely intentional separating. It's not you're all citizens of the same, it's us versus them, and people are dumping fuel onto that.
That's right.
Feeling.
Yes.
So there's so
it's very so you guys,
definitely
I know,
potential for stuff to go awry.
That's right. And then you throw guns into the mix, and it's a whole party. So
more guns than people. There's more guns than people.
That's right. So I will. I know there's some talk of things might be a little tense here. America is always the country that's hold my beer. It most certainly.
Need 2 hands for all these guns.
That's right. So that's just what we wanted to contribute to the conversation regarding this upcoming election here, and us bracing ourselves for the election coming in November. It's going to be very, very interesting and a little scary, if I'm being honest. So
Agreed.
Yes. So please feel free to comment and engage, because I like responding and hearing your thoughts, because you guys are so thoughtful in your responses and very well informed, and you're always schooling your girls. So I appreciate all of that, and thank you for watching. Feel free to like and subscribe. Rich, do you have anything else to add?
No, that was it.
That is it for us today. We will see you guys next Tuesday.